People in the street, come on, everybody, and move your feet. Don't stop the beat. I can't stop the beat. I won't stop the beat to go. All right, folks, I'm going to stop the music. We're going to start the session. If you haven't yet put your name and your institution in the chat, please do that so that we know who all is here. And that's information I'm going to use in a little while as well. So we may be a lean group, but we're going to do some awesome stuff. So my name is Mari Strombaum. I currently work as the Executive Director of Housing and Dining at Colorado State University. I have worked in student affairs for a long time, longer than I guess maybe some of you have been alive. So I worked full-time in student affairs for 32 years, but I dipped my toes into student affairs when I became an RA in 1983. Most of my full-time work in student affairs has been in housing or residence life, but I've also spent a little over 10 years working in student unions, particularly in the campus activities area. And I also spent 3 years working in the private sector doing HR work. So during all this time working in the field of student affairs, again, since 1983, I've seen definitely some changes in our field, the work that we do, what we've been asked to do, how we approach our work. Some of that has changed, some not so much. In particular, the staffing structures today in 2021 are pretty much the same as what they were when I started as an RA in 1983. And that feels problematic to me. Because a lot of other things have changed during that time, right? So some of the things that come to mind for me in terms of what has changed is that students are different, right? So like different demographics are different. Like just as an example, there's now a larger percentage of high school graduates who are enrolling in college. I think it's about 66% now, and back in 1983, it was about 50%. In 1983, about 53% of undergraduates identified as women. Now, almost 75% or is that 7? No, I read that backwards. 57% identify as women, but what has not changed since 1983 is that federal reporting requirements still are on a gender binary. That was the case in 83. It's still the case today. So we know there's major information missing there. In 1983, while some schools provided support for students with disabilities, many campuses did not. There was smoking pretty much everywhere on campus. I remember going into the library and going into the union, and there were ashtrays on the tables. And the drinking age in many states was 18, not 21. The world we lived in 1983 was really different. We did not have a 24/7, 365 news cycle that allowed us to know what was going on wherever we wanted to, whenever we wanted to. And social media didn't exist, and cell phones didn't exist. So there wasn't that same awareness of broader things that are happening politically or injustices that were happening. It was more like a friend talked to a family member who lived in this area and they shared it with you, but we didn't always have access to things. So while kind of that staffing structure has pretty much stayed the same, what we do is different, right? Because the needs of students and the needs of families are different. And so it's my belief that the breadth of the work that we've been asked to do has just grown. It's just been layered on top of what we've been asked to do in the past. But we still approach it with pretty similar staffing models and programmatic models. So what I want to do with this session is really have a conversation with all of you to figure out what are the problems, what are the challenges, what might be some solutions, so that we can leave this conference with some new ideas to institute in our institutions, or at least new ideas to bring back to our institutions to talk with the folks who are there. So what I'm going to ask, because I was told that hop-in breakout rooms are really not good. So I'm going to put a link in the chat for a Zoom meeting. And let me see if I can get to the next slide here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, hold on a second. There. So you'll see hopefully you can see the slide. The bottom of the slide is a Zoom link that I put into the chat along with the meeting ID and the password. So I'm going to ask that we leave this platform and hop on over to Zoom. So I'll see you there in just a little bit.